Hi, it's Leslie Fightmaster, and today's class we're going to stretch out our quadriceps and our hip flexors and shoulders, really good for bikers, so bicycle riders. So let's bring our hands together in front of the hearts, setting an intention for our practice. And then rolling forward, let's make our way into a child's pose. So somebody did request this class, a bicycle rider, and I keep all of the requests on my phone in the notes. And I always keep them there, and I've been keeping them there for a long time. I had a long list, and the ones I've finished and the ones I still need to do, and they're gone. I don't know what happened. So if you requested a class, please request it again so I can start compiling a new list. So in your child's pose, take your hands to your low back, interlacing the fingers, and as you exhale, lift the arms up toward the ceiling. And stretching out the shoulders a little bit. And then release that, reaching the arms forward to stretch out. As you exhale, walk your hands off to the right and shift your hips over to the left. And then inhale through center and exhale, walk the hands to the left as you shift your hips off to the right. Take a couple long breaths here. Continue to stretch out the spine as you breathe. And then back to center, exhale, sweep the hands to the low back, other pinky on top. Take a breath in as you exhale, lift the arms up again, stretching out the shoulders. Just a couple breaths here. And then release, extend the arms forward, up onto the knees, tuck the toes, come to downward facing dog. And then just start to bend one knee and the other, bicycling the legs. Make sure that your arms are shoulders distance apart and your feet are hips width. And now start to stretch back your chest toward the thighs and reach the heels toward the floor. Look to the hands and step your right foot all the way up by your right hand. Take your left knee down. Inhale to come up into a low lunge and pull your right hip back as you do. Make sure the knee stays over the ankle. Then interlace the fingers behind you and reaching back, open up through the chest. So you can let your head go back a little bit, but try not to compress the back of the neck. Try not to throw the neck way back. Releasing, bring the hands down by the foot and lower all the way to chaturanga. Inhaling to up dog or to cobra. We can start with a little baby cobra first. And then exhale, make your way into downward facing dog. Inhale your left leg back and up. As you exhale, step it all the way up by the left hand and take your right knee to the floor. Inhale, come into a low lunge, sinking the hips forward. Make sure to pad up your knee if your knees need any padding. Interlace the fingers behind you, other pinky on top if you remember. And then again, start to stretch back, opening the chest, maybe tilting the head back a little bit, but try not to make it a neck back bend. Just make it an upper back bend. Release the hands down, tuck the back toes, and make your way again to plank. Exhale through chaturanga, inhaling into up dog or into cobra, and exhale, make your way into downward dog. Step your right foot up again by your hands. This time we'll straighten the right leg and fold over it. So stretching out the hamstrings a little bit. Keep pulling the right hip back as you fold forward and pull the toes back. The left hip comes forward gently. And then rebend that right knee and step back again into plank, chaturanga. Inhaling into upward facing dog and exhaling back into downward facing dog. Left leg up, inhale, exhale, step it through. Take the right knee down and now straighten the left leg as you exhale, fold over that straight left leg, pulling the left hip back, sending the right hip forward. Get length through the spine and continue your steady breathing in and out through your nose. Rebend that left knee and step back again into plank. Lower chaturanga. Inhaling upward dog or cobra, roll the shoulder heads back and exhale back to downward dog. And then come onto the knees and stretch your arms forward and get your hips right above the knees. And we're just reaching the arms forward. This is Anahatasana. and it helps to open up the chest and the upper back. So again, making sure the knees are right below your hips. One of my old teachers used to call this one old dog. So the hips are up, and try and turn your upper arms, your biceps up toward the ceiling, and your outer upper arms, your triceps down toward the floor, wrapping down as you press into the thumb and first finger side of your hands, as well as the inner forearms and the inner wrists. If you have any pain in your lower back or in your shoulders, back out of the pose. Don't go in so deeply. So we'll slide back out of it and come back into downward facing dog. Right leg up, inhale. This time we'll bend the knee and open up the hip, taking it off toward the left side for a nice long stretch. And then back through center, step it all the way through. And back foot flat this time for warrior two. So make sure you're lined up your front heel and back arch. And then gaze over the fingertips as you breathe here. Come back to your nice steady breathing. Back arm is as high as the front arm. And then interlace the fingers behind you. And I'm sorry, don't interlace them. Press your palms or your fists together behind you. And then lean forward, reaching your right elbow towards your right thigh. And then rolling the top shoulder back. Try to bring the bottom ribs forward and spin the top ribs back toward the ceiling. Maybe looking up toward the ceiling if that's okay on your neck. Keep reaching the crown of your head forward as you do. And now we'll straighten the front leg, slide that right hand down any amount, reach the left arm up for triangle pose. And then exhale the left arm forward and sweep it down and behind you. Bring it to the thigh or to the lower back and roll your left shoulder open a little bit more. And again, widen across the collarbones here. And almost like you have a little baby cobra pose in your upper back, a little tiny back bend. And then bend the front knee, release hands to the floor. Step back through chaturanga. Inhale, press into up dog or cobra. And exhale into downward dog. Inhale the left leg up and then bend the knee, open up the hip, which I forgot to do on that side. So bend the knee, open the hip for a breath or two. And then set that foot forward for warrior two. Line up front heel and back arch. And again, gazing over the left fingertips as you breathe here. Your back inner thigh lifts up. Then bend the elbows, press your palms or your fists together. Lean forward and taking the left elbow toward the left thigh and roll the top shoulder back. If you need to push pause because you want a little more time on this side, please do that so that you feel even. I apologize for forgetting to open the hip. Widen across the collarbones, shoulder blades moving in toward each other. And then slide your left hand down toward the left foot and right arm up for triangle pose. Keep leaning the torso straight forward over the front thigh. And then reach the right arm in line with the right ear. Sweep it down and take it behind your back. Either hook it onto the left thigh or keep it behind the back. And again, roll that top shoulder back and widen the collarbones. Breathing here. Always back to the breath. Look up as long as it's okay on the neck and then look back down. Bend the front knee, step back through plank. Lower chaturanga all the way to the floor this time. Interlace your fingers at your low back or hook your thumbs. Inhale, Shalabhasana, lift up. So pick up the belly away from the floor. Drop your pubic bone, pressing it lightly into the floor. Tailbone reaches toward the heels. Inner thighs spin up toward the ceiling. And widen those collarbones. And release and rest. And we'll do the same thing. So interlace other pinky on top, lift up. Inner thighs are spinning up toward the ceiling as if you had a yoga block between the thighs. Keep the back of the neck long, so stretch out the crown of the head toward the front. And then release and rest. And then hands by the low ribs. Take an inhale into upward facing dog or cobra. And an exhale into downward facing dog. Inhale to float the right leg up. As you exhale, lightly step it up. Stand the ball of the back foot for crescent pose. Come all the way up to crescent. Reach up nice and tall. Pull the right hip back. Now bend the back knee a little bit so you can tilt the pelvis forward and zip up the belly. Stretch up nice and tall. Make sure the right knee stays over the ankle. As you exhale, you're going to bend your elbows and bend your back knee, opening the chest and dropping down any amount. Inhale to stretch up. Exhale, palms face forward as you bend the elbows, bend the back knee slowly. Inhale up. And one more time. Exhale, slowly bending. Inhale to reach up. As you exhale, we'll bend again, slowly down, and this time we'll stay down. Interlace the fingers just above the right knee, sinking your hips forward. And then tuck your back toes under. Lift the back knee off the floor, but try and keep your hips really low, and then lower it down. Exhale to lift. Inhale, lower it down. Exhale, lift. Try and keep the hips really low. Inhale, lower. Exhale and lift, and inhale to lower. From here, we'll straighten the front leg again and fold forward over the right leg. Then maybe bending the left knee, the heel next to the hip, right leg is straight out in front of you. You can always put a block underneath your right hip or roll up a blanket or a pillow under there if you're real uneven. Then fingertips behind you. And maybe lying all the way back, or you can lie back on your forearms. And as you lie back, make sure that your knee doesn't start to creep out to the side. We want the legs still to remain hips width apart. And then you can stay with that or bend the right knee, putting the right sole of the foot onto the floor. Continue to stretch your tailbone toward the back of your knees or towards your heel of the right leg, and ribs in. Try not to overarch the lower back. This might be really comfortable. It might not be. So if it isn't, don't go down quite so far. You can stay propped up. Now coming up, hands next to the hips to press yourself up, and then step back into plank pose. Lower through chaturanga. On your inhale, come into upward facing dog, and as you exhale, stretch into down dog. Inhale, left leg back and up. Exhale, step it through. Stand the ball of the back foot, come up to crescent. Drop the tailbone down, lift the hip points up. Stretch up really tall through all four sides of the waist. Keep the belly lifted. Then face your palms toward the front of the mat. As you exhale, bend the elbows, open the chest, bend the right knee. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, bend and open. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, bend and open. Try not to overarch the low back. Keep the front ribs drawn in. Inhale up. And exhale, bend and open. This time, keep the right knee down. Pat it up if it needs any padding. Sink the hips forward and hooking the hands, interlacing the fingers just above the left knee. Tuck the back toes and just hover the right knee off the floor and then drop it down. Exhale, hover the knee up. Keep the hips as low as you can. Inhale to lower. Make sure the left knee's over the ankle. Exhale, hover the knee up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift that leg. Inhale, lower it down. And then straighten your left leg. Take an inhale to lengthen. Exhale to fold over the straight front leg. And then bending your right knee with the right heel next to the hip. So the left hip can be elevated a little with a block or a blanket underneath it, because you might be rolling off to the left side a little bit with tightness in the hips. And then you can stay right where you are, up all the way, or to your forearms and hang out on your forearms for a while, or lie all the way back. If you're lying all the way back or leaning back, make sure that your low back is continuing to lengthen. So still lifting your hip points up towards your lower ribs to get length in your low back. And just breathing here. Coming back to your steady ujjayi, breathing in and out through the nose. Either stay with this or bend the left knee, putting the left sole of the foot onto the floor. It makes it more intense. So see what works for you. I really enjoy this stretch, but I know not everybody does. So see how it is. I know I didn't for a long time. It was way too intense. It felt horrible. So I didn't go down all the way. I just propped back on my forearms, tried to find a little relaxation in it, even though I wasn't feeling all that relaxed most of the time. And then hands by the ribs to press up or by the hips and roll forward, making your way back into plank and chaturanga all the way down to the floor. So you're going to take your left forearm parallel with the front of the mat and reach back for the right foot. If you can, right heel toward the right hip and pressing it forward. Don't go past what feels comfortable for you. You should feel a stretch in the quad, and if you don't, resist that foot away so you get that stretch. Left hand to the left foot, right arm is parallel with the front of the mat. Bring that left foot forward any amount. This is Ekabekasana, half frog. So stretching out the quadriceps again, the fronts of the thighs and the hip flexor. Resist that foot if you don't feel a stretch. And then releasing. Bend the knees, reach for the pinky toe sides of your feet. Inhale to come up into Dhanurasana. So lifting the feet up and then press them back. Keep the back of the neck long, lightly gaze off the tip of the nose and come down to rest. And then come into up dog or into cobra. As you exhale, come to down dog, stretching back. And look forward. We'll come through and sit. So come to the knees first. We're going to sit up on the knees first. Hands to the low back. Press your thighs and hips forward gently, but spin your inner thighs back. And then as you do that, lean back any amount. Keep lifting the chest up toward the ceiling. Inner thighs continue to spin back. Go back any amount. Then squeeze the legs toward each other to come up and sit your hips back onto your heels. And we're going to do that again in a moment. So only go as deeply as what is comfortable for you in your back. Make sure that you keep your belly drawn in the whole time. Tailbone's going to reach to the backs of the knees. Thighs and hip flexors come forward a little bit. Maybe you'll reach back for the feet, maybe not. If you do, keep reaching tailbone to backs of knees and lifting the chest up toward the ceiling. Try to create length in the front of the body. So stretching out the whole front instead of thinking about a back bend, think of a forward opening, front opening. Come up and again, this time into child's pose. And then making your way up, bring the hands onto the mat, step back, downward facing dog. Arms and ears are in line. Inhale, come forward into plank and exhale through chaturanga. Inhaling up dog, roll the shoulder heads back and exhale, lift the hips for downward facing dog. Look forward, step or hop now to seated and lie onto your back. Bring your right ankle just past your left knee. Bring your hands through to hold the left shin, or you can hold behind the thigh, either way. Behind the thighs a little closer. Now as you're drawing the legs in toward your chest, try to press gently your right knee forward and your right hip forward. You can stay with that or cross the right knee on top of the left knee, reaching for the pinky toe sides of your feet for Gomukhasana, legs upside down. Let's release that. Bring the left ankle just past the right knee, holding the left shin or holding behind the thigh. And as best you can, bring your left hip slightly forward toward the front and the left knee and ankle in the same line. Make sure the left ankle also stays flexed. You can stay with that pose or cross your left knee over the right knee. Reaching for the pinky toe sides of the feet, drawing the legs in toward the chest, but at the same time, reach your tailbone toward the floor. And releasing for happy baby. Take the pinky toe sides of the feet, knees in toward armpits, reach the tailbone toward the floor again, stretching out the back of the body and the hips. And slowly release, crossing your right knee over left. Take the knees off to the left side, look right over the right shoulder. And you can also put your right knee on top of the left knee or take another variation of a twist lying down. And then back to center. Shifting hips to the left, left over right. Take the legs off to the right, looking over your left shoulder. And then coming back to center, and then make your way into Shavasana, your final resting pose. You're welcome to take the soles of the feet together, knees apart for an alternative Shavasana. It's good for the outer hips, inner thighs for if you're a bicycler. And as you're here resting, I'll read our quote from Mother Teresa. Life is an opportunity. Benefit from it. Life is beauty. Admire it. Life is a dream. Realize it. Life is a challenge. Meet it. Life is a duty. Complete it. Life is a game. Play it. Life is a promise. Fulfill it. Life is sorrow. Overcome it. Life is a song. Sing it. Life is a struggle. Accept it. Life is a tragedy. Confront it. Life is an adventure. Dare it. Life is luck. Make it. Life is too precious. Do not destroy it. Life is life. Fight for it. And start to make some movements, reawakening your body. Take a nice long stretch through the arms and legs. As always, push pause anytime you want a longer Shavasana. Bend the knees, roll yourself off to your right side, pausing for just a moment. And then we'll make our way up to seated. And hands together in front of the heart. Hands to forehead to remind us to have clear and loving thoughts. Hands to the heart to remind us to have clear and loving intentions. And hands to the mouth reminding us to have clear and loving communications. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please go to fightmasteryoga.com. We have a new email list that we're compiling, so I'd love for you to join it. And if you can afford a donation of any amount, there's a link below. And here's my little guy. This is Stone. He is 8 years old and he wanted to say hi and goodbye.